We have this whole area cleaned up now. So a couple things I want to go over here with you. It's very important to check these threads. As I mentioned earlier in the video, this is all cast iron right here. I thought we may have an issue with this hole, but I did find out that somebody put a shorter bolt in, so we've replaced all these bolts with new. But you want to blow these holes out really good, and you want to validate these threads that they're all in good shape, and the fasteners thread in nice and smoothly. And if they don't, sometimes if one of these threads is blown out, you got to put a helicoil in it. So check all these, and sometimes I even chase them if they're really corroded. I'll chase them with a metric tap just to make sure they're nice and clean. Also, the pinion over here, this pinion drive, we have a separate video on our website that walks you through step by step how to drop that pinion motor and gearbox and service this whole region. I cleaned all this up the best I could right now, which will enable us to do this service, but we will drop this and replace this pinion gear and the seal and O-ring. That will be done. And that's another thing too. When you purchase a pre-owned Vemag vacuum filler from us, we go through this whole top end on every machine that we sell. And if they need new parts, we put new parts in it, and you get a warranty with that as well. So a couple things here. Also, you want to make sure, this is a new grease relief valve. The one that was in there was all locked up. There's a spring, it's basically a spring check valve, and the spring was completely rusted closed. So, but you want to put something through here, a rod, and clean all that grease out, run it through inside here and get that passageway nice and clean, which I've already done. And this is the new grease relief valve. So at this time, everything's nice and clean and validated, so we can go ahead and actually install the 4-point bearing next. Okay, so we have a brand new 4-point bearing here. And it's important that you get the bolt holes lined up properly with the casting, the threaded holes here, to the holes in the bottom of the 4-point bearing. So there's two areas here that have a counter bore, which I've put grease on. I put some food grease on there already. So it's important that you get these O-rings put on these surfaces, and we just dab a little food grease there so they don't fall out. So there's one right there, and then there's also another one right here. So you want to put new O-rings in there. That way those will stay in place. So one of the grease ports is right next to the passage hole for one of the bolts. And that bolt right here is right here, so you can see this grease port. So what I like to do is take and put a mark right here, just on the inside of this bolt, where the center of that bolt goes in. And then I mark the center of this bolt, this through hole right here, and the grease hole is right next to it. So that way I don't get my timing off, because if you put this in and you do not line the grease ports up, grease will not flow through the bearing. So it's a very important step. So once you have the O-rings, and obviously the gear goes down and meshes with this pinion right here. So these O-rings here are on the bottom side. So I have one O-ring left, which goes on the top, and I'll show you where that goes once we get this put in place. Another thing too, this surface right here has to be extremely clean, because this is a stack. The bearing goes on this surface. This inner race gets sandwiched between this and the funnel insert. So it's very important this be extremely clean. So, and the same thing with this bottom surface. These have to be extremely clean, which I've already wiped all this down very carefully. So now I've taken a couple of 10mm bolts and put them in here so I have something to hang on to. So now I'm just going to take this 4-point bearing and I'm going to line this up. Oh, let me touch on this too. These are just 8mm. These are long bolts. We've cut the heads off. and we just thread these into these holes just as guide pins. It helps align everything a little bit easier. So real simple, just an 8mm threaded stud is really what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and spin this around here, and I'm going to put this in. And sometimes you got to move the bearing so it meshes on the pinion. So that should drop into place just like that, nice and easy. And I would go back and forth and just kind of split the difference there, so these things are not binding. And then you can go ahead and pull these studs out. They're just for alignment purposes, that's it. So now we can pull these, and we can take these bolts out because the 4-point bearing is not going to come back out. And then I'm going to dab a little bit of food grease in this other O-ring counterbore right there. And this is our third and final O-ring. Goes right down in there, just like that. Again, make sure these surfaces are very clean. Because if these surfaces are not clean, once you start to shim your catch ring, it's going to be out of whack. If you get a piece of debris in there, it's going to cause a out of parallel condition. So with all this in place, now we are ready to install the funnel insert. Okay, we are ready to put our funnel insert in. 4-point bearings all seated. Everything's nice and clean. Again, make sure that this flange here is extremely clean because it is a stack, as I mentioned. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put some grease on this O-ring to start with. Because every O-ring, every seal always needs lubrication. And so that's the grease that's going to help that O-ring go down and seal. And I like to take and put a little bead of silicone around down here in the bottom, because there is a parting line right down here once this gets put in place. So I like to put a little silicone there, so it's not really a harborage area, or not as much if you get a little sealant in there. So we're going to do that now. All right. So we're going to take a little silicone and put this around this way. So that way the grease doesn't interfere with the silicone, because it's going to be above the silicone. Put a little bit more right there, and that'll push down once we get the insert in place. So now we're ready to put our funnel insert in. So this pocket right here, this is for removing the blue urethane seal that goes in here. That goes right over here. If you're looking down at this, basically it goes at the 3 o'clock position. And I've put my studs in here as just a locating device, so I get it close. Just like that. So we're going to get it just about like that. That's pretty close. Now, unfortunately, with this design, there's no timing. There's no pin that lines up, so it's a little bit of guesswork, and I'll coach you through it. So now we want to remove these studs. Now we're ready to push this funnel into place. And we're going to use the same tool that we used to remove it. We just flip it over just like this, and we slide it in. And you want to make sure that these two notches are somewhat centered up with the throat, like that. And then you take these metal bars, and the single hole goes down. These pass through the slots in the top of the housing. This is a very cool tool. And then you take your pin and you go from one to the other. Just like that. And then we take this block and we center this here, like that. And this block adjusts up and down. I believe we're gonna probably have to be up here on the top setting at the moment. So you pull that together like that, and this is our hydraulic jack. Let's tighten that up. So now you just lift up like that. And we're gonna have to come down just a hair. So we just need to get this started just a hair more. So let me just tap on this just a bit. Like that. Now we'll take our block, center it. You don't want anything passing over the edge. Now we can get this guy here. So you center this all up like that. And we tighten up our bottle jack. This beats the heck out of taking a dead blow hammer and just beating this face until it's down in place. Plus the housing down there orients it a little bit more, so. All right, here we go. We're gonna go ahead and put this in place now. Before you go down too much further, make sure this piece of square stock is not sticking over either side, because this edge is going to go down further. Okay, there you go. Okay, so now we just want to take some cleaner and we want to wipe off all the silicone around the bottom here that push through. Get this cleaned up. Okay, so that's one thing nice about using this press tool that we've designed, is this goes right up against the top, and if this funnel insert's off of indication at all, this, when it comes down, this will help get it close. So it's a very nice tool rather than just beating it into place. Sometimes we still do need to move this, change the rotation on it just a little bit. We gotta bump it just one way or the other. But next, what we're gonna do is I put some anti-seize on these bolts. Remember, these bolts go into cast iron, so I like to have a little bit of lubricant in there so it will help them not bind up. All right, so now we're just going to snug these bolts up, just bring them down to where they contact. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and tighten up 4 of them here. Well, actually, let's just go ahead and snug it all down just to make sure that the surfaces are all the way together. And then the important part here, once we get all these tightened up, is we need to take a double screw housing and fit it in here, because if the timing is off on that, the housing is going to go in and stick. It won't slide through. So we might have to reposition this just a bit, but I'm going to show you how to do that. And if you purchase this throat installation tool, all of this stuff comes with it. So you can have pieces to bolt on here to move it and you know, uninstall it, install it, and we have bracketry so you can actually move it. So next we're going to check the fit of the housing. Okay, so now once we have that funnel insert in, we want to check. I'm pretty sure it's off of timing. So when you put the housing in, it's tight. So, by the way, this is our ergo housing, which is half the weight of a normal housing. Very nice. So now we have to rotate this funnel insert. And one way to check it is you put your finger right down here on this parting line, and you can feel there's a pretty good difference here. And over here, it's almost lined up. So the funnel insert needs to rotate that way. So we're going to show you how to do that. We want to loosen all these bolts up because we got to rotate this. Just make sure they're all loose. And we need to rotate it that way just a smidge. And that's what's tricky. Okay, so you want to take the same block that we used to press the funnel insert into place and get some 10mm bolts. And these all come in the kit when you buy the whole kit from us. And you want to thread these into the jack screw holes, the only threaded holes here. So you want to thread these down. Like that. Just snug those up like that. Okay, so now what we need to do, I know this looks a little barbaric, but this is the only way to do it, is I get a large crescent wrench and get it on this block, just like that. And we're gonna need a long cheater bar. Okay, so now with a big cheater bar on here, we wanna bump this. Looking down, we wanna go counterclockwise. I think it moved a little bit, so you gotta just move it just a hair and then check it with your finger down here. We gotta go a little more. Let's check that. So now you want to go and tighten all these back up. Little crisscross pattern here. I really don't like using an impact on these. These should be just tightened with a wrench. They don't have to be crazy tight, because remember, you want to bring the flanges together, but these threads are in cast iron, so you don't need to go super duper tight, but you want it to be good and bottomed out all the way around. And we'll check our housing fit one last time and make sure that housing slides in nice and easy, because there's nothing worse than getting this job all done and you forget to check the housing. So always check the housing and make sure it slides into the machine. Okay, so once you have the timing proper on this, you want to take your housing and slide it in and out. I like to take the housing and spin it, so you know for sure this thing fits just as it should. Okay, very important. So this is actually timed proper now. We did have to put the crescent wrench, actually 2 of them on, and bump it a little bit one way, and then you got to go just a little tiny adjustment. Usually you got to go back and forth a few times until you get it just right, and you can tell by just feeling it and looking up inside there with the light. And then tighten this back down, and then we'll move on to the next step.